Welcome to the Flora Sage Podcast, a place where we help you create a life you're excited about. Hey everyone, woohoo! Welcome to another Walk and Talk episode. I am so freaking pumped for today's topic. Oh my goodness. One little note, I have allergies, so that's why I sound all stuffed up, but I feel fabulous besides my nose. Okay, so frequently I will grab my favorite books and put them by my altar space. And then when I'm in my altar space or just passing by and I'm guided to, I will grab one of my books, open it to a random page, and read the first sentence that pops out. This is a practice that I know so many of you already partake in. I love this practice. I love this exercise. And a few days ago, I did this with the book called The Complete Reader by Neville Goddard. He is one of my favorite authors. He's one of my favorite mystics to read. And this book, The Complete Reader, has 10 of his works. It's incredible. So in any case, I opened it up to page 41, and the sentence that I read is this, and I quote, "Outer reforms are useless if the inner state is not changed. Success is gained not by imitating the outer actions of the successful, but by right inner actions and inner talking." So let's break this down a little bit. Outer reforms are useless if the inner state is not changed. Success is gained not by imitating the outer actions of the successful. So this is like when you see people join like a coaching program or they go to a gym and they do all the outward things and they go and they do the things for a little bit, but nothing really changes. And then they say, well, it just really didn't work for me. Well, the reason why it didn't work for them is because they didn't address the inner workings of what they believed was possible. And when you look at what's possible, things just totally shift. So success is gained not by imitating the outer actions of the successful, but by the right inner actions and inner talking. So this addresses the inner dialogue, your inner beliefs. And when you clear all the limiting beliefs and those limitations and the disadvantages that you have and all these things, what happens then is literally everything shifts. So what do you want and why do you want it? And when you shift that internal dialogue, what happens is you shift that internal motivator and then you begin to own what you want. And that is when your 1 degree shifts really start to stick. Now, most people, they don't really realize that they have limiting beliefs. And they don't really recognize how many stories that they have that are keeping them stuck and keeping them so unhappy. So when you shift the internal, you start to recognize that, oh wow, this is like this internal state. You start to notice that shift. You start to notice the story. You start to notice that limiting belief. You start to notice that roadblock. You start to notice these things. And when you start to notice them, that is the first step in kicking yourself out of that cycle. This is something that I've been preaching and teaching for decades. In order to get yourself out of a cycle, you have to recognize that you're in one. So this is not about trying what other people try. I mean, yeah, you can do that, but it really is all about figuring out what matters to you, shifting the narrative inside and allowing those right actions to come out. And that is when you start to see change happen in your life. And not just change, but lasting change. So what I want you to do today is look at something that you've been trying in your life. So look at a goal that you've set or look at a priority or something and someplace where you feel like you're spinning your wheels. Like no matter what you do, physically, like that outward action, no matter what you do, you're just not seeing a change. You're just not seeing a shift. So from there, look inside and say, why am I choosing to do this? Like, what is that internal motivating factor? Is it just because somebody else did this and they got results? So I'm copying the actions that they're doing. Again, let's go back to this quote. Outer reforms are useless if the inner state is not changed. Success is gained not by imitating the outer actions of the successful, but by right inner actions and inner talking. So again, if you're just imitating the outer actions and nothing is changing, okay, that's a huge indicator that you have an internal dialogue, an internal narrative, an internal something that we need to address and we need to look at. Okay, so now that you've identified that thing that just isn't working, you've taken all of the outer actions. Okay, let's pause for a hot second and then ask yourself, okay, so what's going on internally when I look at the goal or whatever it is that I'm doing or that I'm trying to accomplish? Look at your beliefs around this thing. Do you believe you can achieve this? Do you believe you're worthy of it? Do you believe that you're at an advantage or a disadvantage? So look at the stories that you've told yourself around this particular goal or around this particular facet or area of your life and really start to unpack that internal dialogue. The more that you unpack all that bullshit, all the stories that you've been telling yourself, and you declutter all of these limiting beliefs and all of that internal mumbo jumbo, and you start to get clear about why you want this particular thing, not why somebody else wants it for you, or not why you should want it, but why you actually desire this particular thing in your life, then ask yourself, do I believe that I can achieve this? Do I believe that I can have this or do this or be this? If you truly say, fuck yes, I abso-freaking-lutely believe that I can have, do, or be this thing in my life, okay, perfect. What's one thing that you can take? And that one little action is going to bubble up. This is your 1 degree shift. This is that internal talking, your inner talking and your inner actions. And when that inner action from your inner talking bubbles up, then you take that action. Now, other people are going to see that outward action that you take. They're not going to see that inner shift that happens. When you create that inner shift, the outer action is just natural. You just naturally know exactly what to take because it literally bubbles up from you. It bubbles up from you. So again, it's irrelevant what anybody else does. What is relevant is what you want and why you want it. So I'll give you a really quick example and then we'll jump off of here. So let's just say that your neighbor lost 20 pounds. And you're like, oh my God, she looks so freaking good. I want that too. So what do? You print out pictures of people that look like you or that have the same body type as you. Or maybe you found a picture of you like 10 years ago and you're, 20 pounds later and you're like, yes, I want this. So you have these outward things that are, quote unquote motivating you. All right, so you've got your neighbor that's just looking around, just like, hey, look at me, I'm looking all hot and shit. She's probably not doing that, but let's just say that every time you see her, you're like, dang, maybe you get a little bit jealous, maybe a little bit envious, and you're like, I want that too. And so you have your pictures and you're trying to do your workouts and you're trying to eat healthy and you've been doing it for a month and the scale is not budging and you're like, what the hell is wrong with me? And so you start all these different diets or you start taking all these pills and all this other stuff, these fat burners and the keto things and it's still not working. So 2 months later, you're feeling really pissed. You're feeling deflated. You're feeling defeated. You're like, what the hell? Why can't I do this? Okay, let's pause for a moment and back up. Let's look at the story behind your neighbor's 20-pound weight loss. Let's say that your neighbor found out that they were type 2 diabetic and that their doctor said you need to be put on metformin or you need to be put on some type of medication that will help with your blood sugar. You need to lose weight, you need to exercise and all this other stuff. Well, maybe your neighbor's parent died from diabetes, okay? So now all of a sudden your neighbor has this massive wake-up call like, holy shit, my parent died from diabetes. I am not going to have that same story. I am going to end the cycle now. So inside, all of a sudden they have this huge wake-up call. And inside they're saying, oh, hell no, I will not be diabetic. I will not be on metformin long term. I will not have these same issues that my parent did. So inside, they put a full stop to this. And then they were no longer available for that. They were no longer available to be labeled diabetic. They were no longer labeled, I'm not going to be overweight. I'm not going to be inactive. I'm not going to eat crap. So inside, they had a huge shift, okay? So then what did they do? They're just like, I'm not going to eat junk food anymore. I am going to do this. I'm going to start walking every day. I am going to start drinking my water every day. I'm going to no longer eat processed carbs. I'll have my fruits and vegetables and things like that, but I'm no longer available for eating all that crap because I want to feel better and I want to change how the rest of my life is going to look because they saw their parents suffer. So then on the outside, you as their neighbor saw them all of a sudden one day start walking and you're like, oh, rock on, woo, yay, hey, what's up, whatever. And then before long, all of a sudden you start to see them lose weight. And then you stop them one day and they're like, yeah, I've lost 20 pounds. I feel fabulous. Oh my gosh, I'm never going to go back to the lifestyle that I had before. Granted, they didn't tell you all that other stuff that went on behind the scenes. So they have a very strong internal force guiding them in the actions that they're choosing to take. And so then those internal actions bubble up into the outward actions that everybody sees that is paying attention. So now back up to your 20 pounds that you want to lose. Why do you want to lose 20 pounds? Why? Is it just to look good? Okay, cool. That's fine. If the inside internal force to look good is strong enough to keep you from going back to the, oh, this is hard, I don't want to do this, I'll just skip my workout today, what's a chocolate muffin? It's all good. Whereas your neighbor is like, I don't eat pastries, I don't skip workouts. They literally set a completely different set of standards because they didn't want to go down that other path that they were already going down, that they got diagnosed with their doctor from, okay? So when you get clear about your internal dialogue and your internal motivating factors, maybe you sit with it and you're just like, you know what? I feel like shit in my body. My knees hurt, my ankles hurt. Nothing fits good. My clothes pinch and bind. And I feel like crap most of the time after I eat. And I'm not eating the best food and I'm not working out. Okay, so why do you want to lose weight? Do you want to lose weight because you want to feel better in your body? Do you want to eat more mindfully because you want to feel better after you eat and not feel sluggish? So these are things that only you can answer. But I promise you, when you start to unpack all of this stuff, what happens is you're going to start to recognize those internal narratives that you have, that internal talking, as Neville Goddard calls it. And what happens then is you start to naturally shift the actions that you take. And it's those inner actions of giving yourself some grace and saying, if I do want to eat that chocolate muffin, I'm going to eat it in the morning so I have all day to burn it off instead of eating it right before bed. Knowing that sugar is not going to allow you to sleep restfully, and then you're going to wake up feeling tired, and it's this whole cycle again. So again, allowing yourself to recognize your internal state. Recognize the limiting beliefs or that inner dialogue or any limitation, like all that stuff, just recognizing all of it and giving yourself permission to unpack it. Now, if you want to unpack it with yourself or a close friend, go for it. Or you can hire a coach or go see a therapist, but allow yourself to unpack these stories. Allow yourself to unpack and address these limiting beliefs and the things that are keeping you from being able to take that natural right action. Because the thing is when you figure out what matters to you, you'll naturally shift that narrative inside, which will naturally allow those right actions to come out. And again, that's when you start to see real and lasting change happen in your life through those little 1 degree shifts that you're taking every single day. And again, that 1 degree shift for you today could be to not eat that chocolate muffin. It could be to get up and walk around the block after dinner instead of sitting in front of the TV for 3 hours. But you've got to give yourself permission to just recognize taking those outer actions is useless if that inner state isn't dealt with and isn't unpacked. I know you can do this. Like this is my jam. This is what I help people do. This is what I've been helping people do for the last 20 some years. So really give yourself permission to recognize this energy shift and this mindset shift and how powerful it can be. And also recognize that if you have been taking actions and you haven't been seeing results, try this, that it's not your fault. It's this internal space that just needs to be addressed and looked at. And oftentimes it can be shifted very, very quickly. And the key to shifting it really quickly is to get deep and raw and honest with yourself. No holds barred. Take the gloves off with yourself and be brutally honest. And when you're brutally honest with yourself, all of a sudden, then you're going to see exactly that inner dialogue that is keeping you stuck. And then you can shift it. And if you're having a hard time shifting it, reach out to me, support@florasage.com. Let me know. Or if you want to book a session, I've got very affordable sessions. Go ahead, click the link, the Coach Me link below in the show notes. Let's talk. This is my jam. This is what I help people with. And I hope that this episode serves you today. I truly do. Remember that being willing to do one baby step each day and shift just 1 degree will help you create a life that you're excited about. I hope this serves you today. I love you, and I will see you in the next episode. Mwah. Bye-bye. If you've been loving these episodes, it would mean the world to me if you would rate this podcast on iTunes. A 5-star rating is what I always aim for. Thank you for listening to today's podcast episode. All links mentioned are in today's show notes.